one of his more powerful utterances. He said, we do not consider our religion alone as valid. And I think this is one of the features of all religions. You know, you have the Christians as opposed to the heathen. You have the Muslim as opposed to the infidels. And of course in Rasta you have the Rasta as opposed to Babylon. So they always have this in-group and out-group within religions, in which the in-group establishes that they are the true believers, they are the true inheritors of eternal life, and the others will go to hell. And I'm saying that this also leads even within a religion, quite apart from the clashes and conflicts between religions over these doctrines as to who is right. You have within the religion different groups emerging, Catholic versus Anglican, or Shiite versus Sunni Muslim. And therefore, as Rasta has become more institutionalized, we've witnessed the emergence of groups within Rasta, the Nyabingi as distinct from the 12 tribes, as distinct from the Ethiopian World Federation, as distinct from the Emmanuel Brethren, and so on. So I'm saying that this is, in a sense, the social baggage that goes along with religion. And sometimes it threatens to even obscure some of the real value of the spiritual core that is at the heart of the religion. I'm happy to say that up to now, Rastafari has been able to, in my view, limit the extent of the religious features in the movement. I would say that because of its very individualistic approach, and because the Rastafari emphasizes the I, the individual one, Rasta don't really believe in conversion, for example. They argue that it is an inborn conception. No one can convert you to the truth or to Rastafari. Your experiences and your search for the truth will lead you to that point and guide you there.
To that point.
So because of that aspect, I would say up to now the religious features have been to some extent minimized, and spirituality tends to be more the upthrust aspect of Rastafari.
All right. We have a call early this evening. Let's go to our phone lines, 228-5562 or 228-5563. Good evening and welcome to In His Name. Hello, good evening. Go right ahead. Hello? Well, while we sort that one out, one of the things I'd like you to tell us about is some of the unique elements that make up Rastafari. If we look at the 7 Days movement, we know that they have, their slant is very much towards a healthy way of living.
Right.
If we look towards the Catholic, they also have some very unique elements.
Yeah.
What are the unique elements of Rastafari?
Well, I'd say the most unique thing about Rasta first is that it was created by black people. It's a Caribbean, African religion, Afro-Caribbean religion. It is indigenous to us. It was created by our people. A very bold step in terms of self-confidence for our people to be able to create God in your own image culturally. I think that's an important aspect. The other thing about it is that it reflects very much about the reality of black people in the Caribbean. For example, as a result of the whole emphasis on Europeanizing black people in the Caribbean and teaching them to be negative about their hair or their color of skin or their features, Rasta is an open celebration of Africanity. And that's where the locks really come in. Rastaman is basically saying, this is me, this is my hair in its full raw state, I accept it as me, how the Creator made me, and I'm not really fitting into any other image and likeness. And even the idea of choosing an African king as a returned Christ, apart from the fact that historically is correct, it also is interesting because, again, in terms of our history, we were taught to denigrate things African. And it took a lot of courage for us not to see God in the likeness of Prince Charles or Queen Elizabeth, but in the likeness of an African king.
Any rites, any rituals, any eating habits?
Oh yes, the eating habits are very distinctive. Vegetarianism is a distinct aspect of the Rastafari liberty from very early. Again, in keeping with the idea about nature and natural liberty and being in natural harmony with nature, is the idea that you shouldn't take any life, you shouldn't disturb any other part of the living ecosystem. It is biblically based as well. There are parts like from the first book of Genesis, behold the green herbs, it shall be meat for man. The idea that really it's not flesh that is meat for man, it is herbs, vegetables that's meat for man. And Rastas followed down that line very seriously, even being against things like salt and sugar to some extent in the diet. And a lot of the things that Rastas said, and these were mainly illiterate Rastafari in Jamaica at the time, a lot of the things that they said in the 30s and 40s were borne out by medical evidence and health fads in the 70s and 80s and 90s. I mean, the world is virtually coming around now to the position that salt and sugar are dangerous things in the diet, and they certainly have recognized some of the dangers of eating meat.
Mm-hmm. The linguistic emphasis on I and I, and the word modifications, the linguistic modifications of words.
Yeah, Rasta also believe in being creative with language. The I is really the first for Rasta, you know. I mean, the first is equivalent to the one. The first, the I, is representative of the Creator, the indwelling I that lives in each of us. There's an I in the I, there's an I in I, right? And from there, of course, I and the I, meaning to say, stressing the thing that we have in common, that we're both sons and daughters of the Creator, rather than I and me, or you and me. You know, the I links us together, in a sense, to the Creator. So the I is the Creator, I and I are the sons and daughters of the Creator. And Rasta say, well, since the world has forgotten the first, which is the Father, and put other things before him, it's time now to remind the world of who is the first, of the divine Creator, and put him at the head of all things. So Rasta change all of the major words to, instead of cabbage, you have ibij, instead of kalalu, ilalu, instead of banana, ainana, and of course all Rastafari names change to I. David is Ivid, and Ronald is Ainal, and
what about things like understand becoming overstand?
Yeah, also that kind of idea. The idea that the language also is also a psychological attack that you have to be aware of, especially black people, because when you hear a man talking about blacklisting and blackmailing and Black Friday and black lies, then you begin to understand that he is subtly inserting a whole idea in your mind that black basically is negative. Why not white list? You know, why not white male?
Or white Friday.
Or white Friday, or white lie. But of course, you know, white lies are not that bad. So the whole, there's a subliminal communication going on in language that the Rastaman says we have to be aware of. This trick that a man plays with you when he says, do you understand me? Rasta would say, no, I can understand you. I would have to stand over you to be in a position to know where you're coming from. If I stand under you, it would be very dangerous. Okay. So he said, do you overstand me? I say, I overstand where you're coming from, rather than understand. And it seems to some people as very trivial or just merely humorous, but I believe that it's subtle lessons that are being communicated, and Rasta has used these techniques and stratagems to draw more attention to the self and self-realization, and to more attention to Africa and blackness.
And repatriation.
Yeah.
We have another caller in the line. We'll try one more time. Good evening, and welcome to In His Name.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. Go right ahead, sir.
I would like to ask Dr. Tafari, what his name?
His name is Dr. Ikael Tafari.
Okay. I'd like to ask him where you all get this idea from, that Haile Selassie is the king and God of God. Because I think that Haile Selassie is just a man like me and you, and I don't know how you all get this idea. I would like to explain it for me, how when I get this idea about what Haile Selassie is king and God of God and all sort of things. Explain it for me.
Well, thanks for the question, because it certainly brings us to what many people consider to be the heart of the matter. Yes, Rasta get it from, among other things, from the Bible. The verses in the Revelation mention, for example, that when Christ returns, he will have a new name. You find that in Revelation chapter 2, verse 17. You find it in Revelation chapter 3, verse 12. You find it in Revelation chapter 19, verse 11. So on 3 different occasions in Revelation, you will have the writer of Revelation, John, indicating that when Christ returns, he will have a new name. He will not be called Jesus Christ. In fact, that wasn't his name in any case. He will not be called Jesus the Christ the second time around. And in fact, the first name, Yeshua was really his right name the first time around. Jesus is a Greek translation. So his name in Hebrew, Yeshua, or in Greek, Jesus, translated into English is Savior, because the first time around his mission was to save his people, to save the world from sin and death. But the second time around his mission, he says, is now not as a lamb to the sacrifice, but as a lion, as a king, as a conquering lion, according to Revelation chapter 5, verse 5. So if you take the Revelation, you will see that it indicates that a man will come out of David's line, out of the line of David. You find that in Acts chapter 2, verse 29. Men and brethren, let me freely speak unto you of the patriarch David, that is both dead and buried, and his sepulchre remain with us unto this day. Therefore, being a priest, and knowing that God had sworn with an oath that out of the line of David, according to the flesh, he would raise up Christ to sit upon his throne. So according to a verse like Acts, is telling you that Christ, when he returns, will not come out of the sky, as the colonial teaching was led us to believe that we should look up into the clouds, that Christ would come from the clouds. He says, according to Acts, he's going to come out of a specific family line, which is the line of David. according to history, that line was fulfilled through Solomon, the son of David, and the son born of Solomon through Makeda, the queen of Sheba. And that is the lineage of the descent of Haile Selassie. So Haile Selassie fulfills the requirement of being from the line of David according to the flesh. He fulfills the requirement of being the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords and the conquering lion of tribe of Judah, which is the official title. And he has actually some other titles, such as his full title is really Haile Selassie, meaning the power of the Trinity, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, the elect of God, the light of this world, the high priest after the order of Melchizedek, and the King of Zion. Now that's the man's full title. Now, according to the prophecies, therefore, there's no reason why Haile Selassie should not be recognized as the one person since the crucifixion of Christ some 2,000 years ago, the one man who has come, who does come from the line of David, who has taken those titles unto himself, who does sit upon the throne. I mean, the question will be asked, if it's not him, who else? Because no one else since Christ was crucified 2,000 years ago has come who can qualify by the requirements of being of a Davidic line, of having the titles King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. These are the Christ titles. So my friend, when we use these, we are just interpreting the prophecy, and in particular Revelation, to suggest that it has been fulfilled already in history by the coming and the crowning of Haile Selassie of Ethiopia.
Right.
I'm